The morning started like any other Tuesday. Natalie Harper adjusted her blazer, checked her reflection one last time, stepped into the elevator of Morrison Tech Solutions. She had worked here for 3 years, pouring her heart into every campaign, every presentation, every late-night deadline. The numbers on the elevator display climbed steadily. 15, 20, 25. Her heartbeat matched the rhythm, but today felt different. The air in the hallway seemed heavier somehow, like the building itself was holding its breath. Colleagues who usually greeted her with warm smiles now glanced away quickly, their eyes darting to their screens as she passed. Natalie felt a cold knot forming in her stomach. The words that changed everything Rebecca from Human Resources was waiting at her desk. The woman's face was carefully neutral, professionally blank. Behind her stood Mr. Patterson, the department head who had praised Natalie's work just last week. Now he would not meet her eyes. "Natalie, we need to talk in the conference room," Rebecca said quietly. The walk down that corridor felt endless. Through the glass walls, Natalie could see the city stretching out below. Thousands of people moving through their ordinary days, unaware that hers was about to shatter. The conference room door closed with a soft click that sounded final. "Absolute. We have to let you go effective immediately," Rebecca began, sliding a manila folder across the polished table. Natalie stared at the folder without touching it. Her mind raced, searching for understanding. "I need to know why. What did I do wrong?" Mr. Patterson finally spoke, his voice flat and rehearsed. "The Chen Electronics campaign failed to meet projections. Someone needs to take responsibility for the oversight." "But I followed every protocol," Natalie whispered, her throat tightening. "I submitted reports showing the timeline was unrealistic. I warned about the budget constraints." "The decision has been made," Rebecca interrupted gently but firmly. "Your severance package is in the folder." The long walk out, Natalie's hand shook as she packed her desk. 3 years reduced to a cardboard box, the small succulent plant her mother had given her for good luck, the coffee mug with a motivational quote she had once believed in, a framed certificate from her first successful campaign. Everything that proved she had mattered here, now just objects to carry away. The office had gone silent. People pretended to work, but she felt their sideways glances, their relief that it was her and not them. In corporate spaces, failure was treated like a contagious disease. "Better to keep your distance? Protect yourself?" Rain started falling as she reached the lobby. Of course it did. The universe had a sense of dramatic timing. Natalie pushed through the revolving doors and stepped into the downpour. Within seconds, her hair was plastered to her face, her blouse soaked through. The cardboard box grew soft and damp in her arms. Standing in the storm, she walked without direction, just needing to move to put distance between herself and the building that had consumed so much of her life. The city blurred around her, all gray concrete and rushing crowds. Everyone had somewhere to be, something important to do. Everyone except her. At a crosswalk, Natalie stopped. Water pooled at the curb, reflecting the red traffic light in rippling patterns. She looked down at the box in her arms. The bottom was disintegrating. As she watched, the succulent plant tipped over, soil spilling onto the wet pavement. Then the mug slipped through a soggy corner, shattering against the concrete. "No," she breathed, kneeling down to gather the pieces. Her hands moved frantically, trying to save something, anything. But the shards were too sharp, the rain too heavy. Blood mixed with water on her palm, where a piece of ceramic had cut her. She sat back on her heels. Rainwater streaming down her face, mixing with tears she could not hold back anymore. 3 years of sacrifice, of skipped dinners and lost weekends, of believing that hard work and honesty mattered. All of it gone because someone needed a scapegoat. A voice in the rain: "You should not be sitting in the street." Natalie looked up through the rain. A man stood above her, holding a black umbrella. He was tall, dressed in an expensive charcoal suit that somehow had not a drop of water on it. His face was hard to see against the gray sky, but his voice was surprisingly gentle. "I am fine," she said automatically, the words catching in her throat. "You are bleeding," he observed, nodding toward her hand. "And sitting in traffic. That is not fine." He extended his hand. For a moment, Natalie just stared at it. She had spent the morning being dismissed, being erased from a place she thought she belonged. This stranger's simple gesture of acknowledgement felt impossibly large. She took his hand. His grip was firm, steady. He pulled her to her feet with easy strength, immediately angling the umbrella to shelter them both. Rain drummed against the black fabric above their heads, creating a small pocket of relative dryness in the deluge. "I am Vincent," he said, "and you look like someone who has had the worst day of their life." Despite everything, Natalie felt a small, broken laugh escape. "That obvious?" "The box falling apart was a hint," he replied with the ghost of a smile. "Also, people who are having good days generally do not sit in puddles during rainstorms." Shelter from the storm, Vincent led her to a small cafe tucked between towering office buildings. Inside, warm air enveloped them, carrying the rich scent of coffee and fresh bread. He guided her to a corner table, away from curious eyes, and returned moments later with 2 steaming cups. "Drink this," he said simply. "It helps." Natalie wrapped her cold hands around the cup, absorbing its warmth. For several minutes, neither spoke. The cafe hummed with quiet conversations and the hiss of the espresso machine. Outside, the rain continued its steady assault on the windows. "I lost my job today," Natalie finally said, surprising herself. "They blamed me for something that was not my fault. I tried to defend myself, but it did not matter. The truth did not matter." Vincent listened without interruption, his gray eyes steady and attentive. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment, considering his words carefully. "The truth always matters," he said. "Sometimes it just takes longer to be heard. The question is whether you are willing to wait, or if you are ready to write a new truth entirely." Natalie looked at him, really looked. There was something in his expression, a knowingness, as if he understood loss and disappointment from personal experience, not just observation. "Who are you?" she asked softly. "Someone who believes that endings are often disguised beginnings," Vincent replied. He reached into his jacket and withdrew a cream-colored business card, placing it on the table between them. "Sterling Hope Foundation. We help people rebuild their lives after setbacks. I think you might be interested in what we do." Natalie picked up the card, her thumb tracing the embossed letters. "Vincent Sterling, founder and director." "I do not understand," she whispered. "You do not know me. You do not know if I am any good at anything." Vincent stood, leaving money on the table for the coffee. "I know you were willing to sit in the rain holding onto broken pieces rather than walk away with nothing. I know you still said thank you to the barista even though your world just fell apart. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." He moved toward the door, pausing with his hand on the handle. "When you are ready, call that number, or do not. But know that today is not the end of your story, Natalie. It is just a very difficult chapter." Then he was gone, disappearing into the rain-soaked afternoon. Natalie sat alone with her cooling coffee and his card, watching water stream down the cafe windows. For the first time since Rebecca had spoken those crushing words, she felt something besides despair. It was small and fragile, barely more than a spark, but it was their hope. 5 days passed before Natalie found the courage to dial the number on Vincent Sterling's card. 5 days of staring at her laptop, sending resumes into the void, and watching her savings account dwindle with terrifying speed. 5 days of her mother's worried phone calls and her own reflection in the mirror looking more hollow each morning. The card sat on her nightstand, catching the light each time she woke. On the 6th morning, she picked it up before she could talk herself out of it. Her finger hovered over the numbers, heart pounding as if she were about to jump off a cliff. "Sterling Hope Foundation, this is Grace speaking. How may I help you?" The voice was warm, professional. Natalie almost hung up. Almost. "My name is Natalie Harper. Vincent Sterling gave me this number. He said I should call when I was ready." Pause. Then, "Miss Harper." "Yes. Mr. Sterling mentioned you might reach out. He asked me to schedule a meeting if you called. Would tomorrow at 10 work for you?" Tomorrow felt impossibly soon, and unbearably far away, all at once. "Yes, tomorrow's fine." "Oh, wonderful. I will send you the address. Mr. Sterling is looking forward to speaking with you." The Foundation of Hope, the Sterling Hope Foundation, occupied the 15th floor of a renovated building in the Arts District. Unlike the cold glass towers of corporate America, this space felt alive. Exposed brick walls held photographs of smiling faces, people of all ages standing in front of new businesses, holding diplomas, cutting ribbons. Each image told a story of transformation. Grace Chen met Natalie in the reception area. She was in her early 40s, with kind eyes and an efficiency that felt comforting rather than intimidating. "Mr. Sterling is finishing a call. Would you like coffee while you wait?" "Thank you, yes." Natalie's hands needed something to hold besides her nervous energy. The waiting area had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. From this height, the streets where she had fallen apart looked almost beautiful. Threads of movement weaving through the urban landscape. Natalie wondered how many other people down there were having the worst day of their lives. Sitting in rain puddles with broken dreams scattered around them, Miss Harper. Vincent's voice pulled her from her thoughts. He stood in the doorway of his office, dressed more casually today in dark slacks and a navy sweater. Somehow, he looked more approachable and more intimidating at the same time. "Please, come in." A different kind of interview. His office was nothing like she expected. Books lined one wall, their spines worn from actual reading. A guitar leaned in the corner. The desk held organized chaos, papers and files mixed with small sculptures that looked handmade. This was a space where work happened, but also where life was lived. "Thank you for coming," Vincent said, gesturing to a comfortable chair. He sat across from her, not behind the desk. "Equal footing." "I was hoping you would call." "Almost did not," Natalie admitted. "A dozen times I picked up the phone and put it down again." "What changed?" She thought about that. "I realized I was more afraid of staying stuck than of trying something new, even if it turns out to be a mistake." Vincent nodded slowly, something like approval in his expression. "Tell me about your work at Morrison Tech, not what they said you did wrong. Tell me what you've built there." For the next 20 minutes, Natalie talked. She described campaigns she had created, problems she had solved, the late nights when inspiration struck and she knew, absolutely knew, she had found the right angle. She talked about the community outreach program she had proposed, using marketing skills to highlight local nonprofits. Management had rejected it as not profitable enough, but she had believed in it anyway. Vincent listened without interrupting. He did not take notes or check his phone. He simply listened with complete attention, as if her words mattered more than anything else in the world. The offer, when she finished, silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, but thoughtful. Vincent stood and walked to the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. "I started this foundation 6 years ago," he began quietly. "After I sold my first company for more money than I knew what to do with, I thought I would feel successful, accomplished. Instead, I felt empty. All that wealth, and I had no idea what it was for." He turned back to face her. "Then I met a woman who had lost everything. Her business failed, her marriage ended. She was living in her car. But when I gave her a small grant to restart, she did not just rebuild her life. She created something beautiful that helped dozens of other people. That was when I understood, money is not the point. People are the point." Natalie felt her throat tighten. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I see that same spark in you. You did not just do marketing at Morrison Tech. You tried to make their work mean something beyond profit margins. That community outreach program you mentioned? That is exactly the kind of thinking we need here." He returned to his chair, leaning forward with sudden intensity. "I want to offer you a position, Natalie. Not out of pity. Not because I feel sorry for you, but because I believe you have the vision to help us expand our impact." The weight of trust. Natalie's hands gripped the armrests of her chair. This was too much, too fast. People did not just hand you second chances like this. There had to be a catch, some hidden expectation she would fail to meet. "What would I be doing?" She managed to ask. "We are launching a new initiative, helping people who have been unfairly pushed out of their careers rebuild their professional identities. You would lead the marketing and outreach. But more than that, you would help design the program itself. Your experience, both the successes and the failure that was not your fault, makes you uniquely qualified." I do not know if I am ready for that kind of responsibility, Natalie said honestly. I am barely holding myself together. Vincent's expression softened. I am not asking you to be perfect. I am asking you to be honest, to care, and to show up. The rest we can figure out together. Together? I believe in collaboration, not hierarchy. Yes, I am the founder. But the best ideas come from people on the ground, doing the actual work. I need someone who will challenge me, who will tell me when we are missing the mark. Can you do that? Fears and doubts, Natalie stood abruptly, moving to the window. Below, people moved through their days, unaware of the decision being made in this room, 15 floors above. Her reflection in the glass looked uncertain, afraid. At Morrison Tech, they made me believe I was valuable, she said quietly. Then they discarded me without a second thought. How do I know this will be different? How do I know you will not do the same thing when something goes wrong? Vincent joined her at the window, maintaining a respectful distance. You do not know. I could give you promises, but words are easy. The only way you will know is by taking the risk. That is not very reassuring, he agreed, but it is honest. I can tell you that in 6 years I have never fired anyone without cause. I can tell you that I value loyalty, and I give it in return. I can tell you that mistakes are expected and accepted here, as long as we learn from them. But ultimately, trust is not given. It is built, day by day, choice by choice. Natalie turned to face him. Why me, really? You could hire someone with more experience, someone without baggage. Because baggage means you understand what people are going through when they come to us for help. Because you know how it feels when the system fails you. That empathy, that understanding, you cannot teach that. Either someone has lived it or they have not. A leap of faith. Thomas Wade, the Foundation's program manager, joined them for lunch. He was younger than Natalie expected, maybe 30, with an easy smile and genuine enthusiasm that was not forced or fake. Over sandwiches in the Foundation's small cafe, he talked about current projects, challenges they faced, dreams they had for expansion. The hardest part is helping people believe in themselves again, Thomas explained. By the time they come to us, most have been rejected so many times they expected. They walk in waiting to be told no. Teaching them to hear yes again, that is the real work. Natalie felt those words settled deep in her chest. She was one of those people now, walking through the world expecting rejection, braced for the next disappointment. How do you do it? She asked. How do you convince them? We do not convince them, Thomas said simply. We show them. Small wins, little successes, proof that things can be different. Eventually, they start to believe it themselves. Vincent had been quiet during lunch, letting Thomas do most of the talking. Now he spoke. Natalie, I am not asking for an answer today. Take time to think about it. Visit our community center, meet the people we serve, see if this feels right to you. What if I take the job and fail? The question escaped before she could stop it. Then we will figure out why and try something different, Vincent replied calmly. Failure is only permanent if you let it be. That evening, Natalie stood in her small apartment, Vincent's formal offer letter in her hands. The salary was fair, not extravagant, but enough to rebuild her savings. Benefits were good. The work sounded meaningful, challenging, terrifying. Her phone rang. Her mother's number lit up the screen. Sweetheart, how did the meeting go? Natalie sank onto her couch. He offered me a job, Mom. A real job, not just employment. A chance to build something that matters. That is wonderful. So why do you sound terrified? Because what if I am not good enough? What if I let him down? Her mother was quiet for a moment. Natalie, do you remember when you were 7 and wanted to try gymnastics? You were so afraid of the balance beam? You said you would fall, that everyone would laugh. I remember. I told you that falling is part of learning. The beam is not there to catch you being perfect. It is there to teach you balance. Life works the same way. Natalie felt tears sting her eyes. What if this is a mistake? What if it is not? What if this is exactly where you are supposed to be? A new beginning. The next morning, Natalie called Grace Chen. I would like to accept the position. Wonderful. Grace's smile was audible. Can you start Monday? Monday? That soon? Mr. Sterling was hoping you would say yes. He has already cleared his calendar to help with your onboarding personally. After hanging up, Natalie walked to her window. The city spread out before her, the same view she had stared at for 5 days, drowning in uncertainty. But somehow it looked different now. Not because the city had changed, but because she had. She thought about Vincent's words. Endings are often disguised beginnings. Maybe he was right. Maybe the worst day of her life had been necessary to lead her here, to this moment, to this chance. Her phone buzzed. A text from Vincent. "Welcome to Sterling Hope. I look forward to working with you. The coffee here is much better than that cafe, by the way." Natalie laughed, a real laugh that felt rusty from disuse. She typed back, "I will be the judge of that." His response came quickly. Challenge accepted. Outside her window, clouds parted and sunlight broke through, painting the streets in gold. Natalie pressed her hand against the cool glass, feeling the warmth on her palm. For the first time in weeks, the future did not feel like something to survive. It felt like something to build. Monday suddenly could not come fast enough. Monday morning arrived with crisp, autumn air and the kind of clear blue sky that felt like a promise. Natalie stood before her closet, hands hovering over hangers, second-guessing every choice. Professional, but not trying too hard. Confident, but approachable. Finally, she settled on a simple navy dress and grabbed her worn leather bag. The one her grandmother had given her years ago, the Sterling Hope Foundation. Felt different when she arrived as an employee rather than a visitor. Grace greeted her with genuine warmth, handing over an access card and a welcome folder decorated with the foundation's logo. A phoenix rising with outstretched wings. "Vincent asked me to give you the morning to settle in," Grace explained as they walked through the open office space. "Your desk is by the eastern windows. He thought you might appreciate the morning light." The desk was perfect. Not too large, not tucked away in a corner. A small potted orchid sat beside a new laptop and a handwritten note rested against the keyboard. "Welcome home. Take your time finding your wings, Vincent." Natalie traced the words with her fingertip, feeling something warm bloom in her chest. Home. When had a workplace ever felt like that? Building bridges, her first project was reviewing the foundation's current marketing materials. What she found surprised her. The brochures and website were professional but cold, filled with statistics and success rates. Missing was the heart. The human stories that made the work matter. Thomas stopped by her desk around mid-morning, coffee in hand. "How's the first day treating you?" "Good. Overwhelming, but good." Natalie gestured to her screen. "Can I ask you something? These materials focus so much on numbers. Where are the people?" Thomas grimaced slightly. "Our previous marketing director believed data drove donations." Vincent disagreed, but she was set in her ways. "That is actually one reason the position opened up. She retired last month. Would Vincent be open to a complete overhaul? Why do you not ask him yourself?" Thomas grinned, nodding toward the doorway where Vincent had just appeared. Sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, Vincent approached with his characteristic calm confidence. "I could not help overhearing. What kind of overhaul are you thinking?" Natalie took a breath, channeling the confidence she was still rebuilding. People do not connect with percentages. They connect with stories. Real faces, real struggles, real transformations. We should be showing the journey, not just the destination. Vincent leaned against her desk, arms crossed, expression thoughtful. "Show me what you mean." The power of story for the next 2 hours. Natalie and Vincent sat in a small conference room, laptops open, ideas flowing. She showed him mock-ups she had sketched during lunch. Rough concepts for a campaign called Second Chapter Stories. Each piece would follow one person through their entire journey with the foundation. Not sanitized or simplified, but honest and raw. This woman. Patricia, Natalie, pointed to one of the existing client files. She lost her accounting job after 20 years when her company downsized. Your grant helped her start a bookkeeping service for small nonprofits. But the story is not just that she started a business. It is that she was terrified, that she almost gave up 3 times, that her daughter had to talk her into the initial consultation. That is the story people need to hear. Vincent studied the mock-up, his gray eyes intense with concentration. You want to show the struggle, not just the success. Because right now, someone out there is sitting where I was 2 weeks ago, thinking their life is over. They need to see that transformation is messy and hard and worth it. A slow smile spread across Vincent's face. This is exactly why I hired you. When can you start? I already have, Natalie replied, matching his smile. Cracks in the foundation by her 3rd week, Natalie had interviewed 5 clients for the new campaign. She spent hours listening to their stories, taking photographs, capturing the essence of their transformations. The work was exhausting and exhilarating in equal measure. For the first time since Morrison Tech, she felt truly alive. But not everyone at the foundation welcomed the changes. During a team meeting, Margaret from fundraising made her opposition clear. These stories are too personal, Margaret said, her tone sharp. Donors want to feel good about their contributions, not be confronted with difficult emotions. With respect, Margaret, I disagree, Natalie responded carefully. People want authenticity. They are tired of polished perfection. They want to know their money creates a real change for real people. You have been here 3 weeks, Margaret shot back. I have been managing donor relations for 4 years. I know what works. The room fell silent. Natalie felt her face flush, the old familiar fear creeping in. This was how it started at Morrison Tech, the subtle undermining, the questioning of her judgment. Vincent's voice cut through the tension. Margaret, Natalie's approach aligns with research on modern philanthropy. Younger donors especially respond to narrative-driven campaigns. I would like to pilot her strategy for the next quarter and review the results together. Margaret's jaw tightened, but she nodded stiffly. Of course. That evening, Natalie stayed late finishing the first story profile. The office had emptied, leaving only the hum of computers and the soft glow of desk lamps. She was so absorbed in her work that she did not notice Vincent until he spoke. You should go home. The work will be here tomorrow. She jumped slightly, hand over her heart. You startled me. I thought everyone had left. Almost everyone. He moved closer, studying her screen. Is this Patricia's story? Yes. I am trying to get the tone right. Honest but hopeful. Vincent read in silence, his expression unreadable. When he finished, he looked at her with something like wonder. This is beautiful, Natalie. You have captured her essence perfectly. Thank you. She saved the document, suddenly aware of how close he was standing. Vincent, can I ask you something? Always. Why do you stay so late? You could delegate, go home to your life outside these walls. He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Because this is my life. After my divorce 3 years ago, I threw myself into the foundation. It became easier to help other people rebuild than to face rebuilding myself. The vulnerability in his admission surprised her. I am sorry. I did not know you were divorced. Not many people do. I keep my personal life private. He met her eyes. But with you, I find myself wanting to be less guarded. The air between them shifted, charged with something unspoken. Natalie's heart hammered against her ribs. This was dangerous territory, the kind that led to complications and heartbreak. I should go, she said softly, breaking the moment. Early meeting tomorrow. Vincent nodded, stepping back to give her space. Of course. Natalie, about Margaret today. Do not let her doubt make you doubt yourself. Your instincts are sound. I will try to remember that. As she gathered her things, she felt his eyes following her. At the door, she paused. Vincent. Thank you for defending me today. I was not defending you, he replied gently. I was supporting good work. There is a difference, whispers. In the hallway, the campaign launched on a Wednesday. Within 48 hours, the foundation's website traffic had tripled. Donation inquiries flooded Grace's inbox. Patricia's story had been shared thousands of times across social media, with comments from people saying they felt inspired, seen, understood. But success bred resentment in unexpected places. Natalie began noticing looks between Margaret and some of the older staff members. Conversations that stopped when she approached. The subtle cold shoulder in the break room. Then came the rumors. She first heard them from Thomas, who pulled her aside with obvious discomfort. "I need to tell you something," he began, shifting his weight. "There is talk going around. About you and Vincent." Natalie's stomach dropped. "What kind of talk?" "People are saying you got hired because of a personal connection. That the campaign's success is because Vincent is promoting you unfairly? Margaret has been implying things." The familiar nausea returned, the same sick feeling from Morrison Tech. "We have not done anything wrong." "I know that. I am just warning you. The perception can be as damaging as reality." That afternoon, Natalie kept her door closed, trying to focus on work while her mind spun in circles. She had been so careful maintaining professional boundaries, never crossing lines. But apparently, it did not matter. People saw what they wanted to see. A knock interrupted her spiraling thoughts. Vincent entered without waiting for a response, his expression dark. "I just heard about the rumors," he said, closing the door behind him. "This is unacceptable." "It is fine," Natalie lied. "People talk. It does not matter." "It does matter." He moved closer, voice tight with anger. "You are being targeted because I refuse to let mediocrity dictate our direction. Margaret is threatened by your success." "Then maybe I should leave," Natalie heard herself say. "I cannot go through this again, Vincent. I cannot be the reason for division." "No." The word was sharp, definitive. "You are not leaving because of lies. We are going to address this directly." Storm breaks the next morning, Vincent called an all-staff meeting. Natalie sat in the back, palms sweating, while he stood before the assembled team with controlled fury. "It has come to my attention that rumors are circulating about inappropriate relationships and favoritism," he began, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "Let me be absolutely clear. Natalie Harper was hired because of her exceptional qualifications and vision. The success of our new campaign speaks for itself. The traffic, donations, and engagement numbers are matters of public record." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "If anyone has evidence of actual impropriety, bring it to me directly. But if you are spreading gossip because you are uncomfortable with change or threatened by someone else's competence, you need to examine your own professionalism." Margaret sat rigid in her chair, face flushed. "Vincent, I never said anything specific. I simply raised concerns about rapid changes without proper vetting." "Concerns raised privately to me are welcome," Vincent replied coldly. "Insinuations made in whispers are cowardice. We are supposed to be a foundation built on second chances and dignity. How can we offer that to others if we do not practice it ourselves?" The meeting ended in uncomfortable silence. As people filed out, Natalie remained frozen in her seat. Overwhelmed by Vincent's public defense, but terrified of what it might cost them both. Truth in the rain that evening. Rain returned to the city. Natalie stood at her apartment window watching water streak the glass, remembering another rainstorm that had changed everything. Her phone buzzed. Vincent's text was simple. "Can we talk?" "I am downstairs." She found him in the building's small lobby, rain-dampened hair curling slightly at his temples, hands shoved in his coat pockets. The sight of him made her heart ache with feelings she could not afford to have. "You should not have done that," she said quietly. "Defending me so publicly. It will only make things worse." "I do not care," Vincent replied, moving closer. "Natalie, I am tired of pretending. I am tired of maintaining distance because of what people might think. What are you saying?" He reached out, his hand hovering near her face before dropping. "I am saying that somewhere between the rainstorm and now, you became more than an employee. You became someone I look forward to seeing every morning. Someone whose opinion matters more than anyone else's. Someone I cannot stop thinking about." Natalie's breath caught. "Vincent, we cannot. The rumors will become truth. Everything will become complicated. It is already complicated," he said softly. "The only question is whether we are brave enough to be honest about it." Choosing courage, the rain continued its steady rhythm against the windows. Natalie thought about all the times she had chosen safety over honesty, silence over truth. Where had it gotten her? Fired from a job she had sacrificed everything for, blamed for failures that were not hers, erased as if she had never mattered. She admitted, of losing this job, of proving the gossips right, of failing again. Then be terrified with me, Vincent replied. I am scared too, Natalie. Scared of pushing you away, scared of causing you more pain, scared that I have already crossed lines I should not have crossed. She looked up at him. This man who had stopped in the rain for a stranger, who had seen value where others saw failure, who had trusted her when she could not trust herself. What if it does not work? She whispered. What if it does? The question hung between them like a challenge and a prayer. Outside, thunder rumbled, distant but coming closer. Natalie thought about Patricia's story, about second chapters and the courage to begin again even when the outcome was uncertain. She reached for his hand, lacing her fingers through his. His grip tightened, warm and solid and real. We do this honestly, she said firmly. No hiding, no sneaking around. We tell Grace, we document everything properly. We prove through our work that this is real and earned. Agreed. Vincent's smile was soft, relieved. Though for the record, I plan to recuse myself from any decisions about your employment going forward. Thomas will be your direct supervisor. That seems reasonable. They stood in the dim lobby, rain providing a soundtrack to the moment everything shifted. Vincent lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. I do not have a grand romantic gesture planned, he admitted. No roses or champagne. Just honesty and a promise to face whatever comes next together. That is all I need, Natalie replied truthfully. Grand gestures fade. Steady presence stays. Rising together 3 months later, the Sterling Hope Foundation hosted its annual gala. Natalie stood in an emerald green dress, watching donors mingle while Patricia's story played on screens around the ballroom. The campaign had exceeded every projection. Bringing in record donations and dozens of new partnership requests, Vincent found her by the windows. 2 champagne flutes in hand. They had been careful, professional and public, honest, but appropriate. The gossip had faded when no scandal materialized, when the work continued to speak for itself. Handing her, he said, handing her a glass. This success is yours. Ours, she corrected. I had the ideas. You gave me the platform, Margaret approached, her expression neutral but not hostile. Natalie, the board asked me to tell you they are impressed with the campaign results. They want to expand the program nationwide. That is wonderful news, Natalie replied carefully. Margaret hesitated, then extended her hand. I owe you an apology. I let my discomfort with change become personal. That was unprofessional. Natalie shook her hand, feeling old resentments loosen their grip. Thank you for saying that. I would welcome your input on the expansion, if you are willing. Your experience with donor relations would be invaluable. After Margaret left, Vincent leaned close. That was gracious of you. She was scared, like I was. Like everyone is, when things shift beneath their feet. I understand that now. The evening wound down with speeches and toasts. When the crowd finally thinned, Vincent and Natalie found themselves alone on the balcony. City lights spread before them like scattered diamonds. Do you remember that rainstorm? Natalie asked softly. Every detail, Vincent replied. The way you looked sitting in that puddle, holding broken pieces. The way you insisted on paying for coffee with damp bills. I was such a mess. You were human. Raw and real and refusing to disappear, he turned to face her. That woman in the rain changed my life, Natalie. She reminded me why this work matters. She reached up, touching his face gently. That man with the umbrella saved mine. He stopped when everyone else walked past. I will always stop, Vincent promised. For you, I will always stop. They kissed then, soft and slow, tasting like champagne and new beginnings. Below them, the city hummed with a million stories, a million people facing their own storms. But up here, sheltered and steady, 2 people who had fallen and risen stood together. The phoenix on the foundation logo was not just a symbol, Natalie realized. It was a promise that from ashes and rain and broken pieces, something beautiful could emerge. That endings were never final. That love could be found in the most unexpected moments, with the most unexpected people, as Vincent held her close. The city lights blurring into a warm glow, Natalie finally understood. She had not been fired that rainy day. She had been freed. Set loose from a life too small for who she was becoming. Pushed toward a future she would never have chosen but could not imagine living without. "Thank you," she whispered against his shoulder. "For what?" "For seeing me when I could not see myself." Vincent pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "Thank you for being worth seeing." The night stretched ahead, full of possibility and promise. Behind them, the gala ended. Before them, a future waited. And between them, steady and sure, was the kind of love built not on grand gestures, but on showing up. Day after day, umbrella ready, hand extended. Always willing to stop in the rain for someone who needed shelter. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled, but neither of them flinched. They had weathered storms before and emerged stronger. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Rising from every fall, finding beauty in every beginning. The phoenix spreads its wings, not because the fire is gone, but because it has learned that flames are just another form of transformation. And sometimes, the best love stories begin in puddles, with strangers who stop, and second chances that feel like coming home. The end.